1983. The Cold War was nearing its most paranoid phase. Nuclear submarines patrolled the oceans, satellites circled the globe, tracking every missile silo. And across the United States, hundreds of radar stations were quietly shut down, declared obsolete and unnecessary. One of them was Montauk Air Force Station. Official records say it was decommissioned. The power was cut. The gates were locked. The radar dome went silent. But then, months later, something unusual began to surface. Locals reported the radar turning back on, without authorization, without personnel, and without any connected power source. So what really happened at Montauk? And why does the government still avoid the full story, the Cold War context? To understand Montauk, we first need to place it in its time. The early 1980s were a period of escalating tension between the United States and the Soviet Union. Each superpower sought total air and missile surveillance, preparing for a potential nuclear confrontation. Radar networks spanned continents, and the US invested heavily in the Semi-Automatic Ground Environment, or SAGE, a system designed to detect incoming bombers before they could reach North America. Montauk, situated on the far eastern tip of Long Island, New York, was ideally located to monitor the Atlantic corridor. From there, radar operators could track any unidentified aircraft approaching the continental US, a role that placed the station at the very front line of Cold War defense. The official purpose of Montauk Air Force Station, was part of a chain of radar sites linked into the SAGE network. Its centerpiece was the massive ANF-PS-35 radar, one of the most powerful of its kind. Designed to scan the skies for Soviet bombers at long ranges, it was a technological marvel for the time, but its full capabilities were classified. Only a small group of military personnel had access to the site's inner workings. Beyond surveillance, the station served as a testing ground for experimental radar technologies, some of which remain shrouded in mystery even today. The station's operational secrecy ensured that outsiders could not confirm the extent of its capabilities, and even internal documentation was tightly restricted. Visualize the site. A large radar dome perched above a cluster of grey concrete buildings, surrounded by barbed wire and high fences. At night, the complex was entirely dark, almost invisible from a distance, an island of silence and secrecy. The shutdown. Or was it? Officially, Montauk Air Force Station was decommissioned sometime between 1981 and 1984. The military claimed all personnel were reassigned, and equipment was either dismantled or scrapped. Gates were locked, lights extinguished, and maps were updated to remove the facility from operational radar listings. Yet this narrative doesn't account for the strange anomalies reported shortly afterward. Locals began noticing unexplained lights flickering in the radar dome long after the facility was supposed to be inactive. Electromagnetic interference occasionally disrupted radios in the nearby towns. Some even claim to have seen unmarked vehicles entering the complex under the cover of night. Official reports do not acknowledge these events, but neither do they deny them. The result is a lingering mystery. How could a decommissioned radar station seemingly operate without personnel, without power, and without any official oversight? Hints of a larger story. What makes Montauk different from other abandoned Cold War sites is the sheer number of unanswered questions. Some FOIA documents remain heavily redacted. Key logs of the station's final months are missing or have been destroyed under obscure procedural rules. Equipment reportedly left behind was later found functional despite orders to scrap it. These inconsistencies create a pattern that suggests Montauk may not have been simply decommissioned. Something more unusual appears to have occurred, something the public record doesn't fully explain. For your viewers, this is the perfect starting point. The calm before the deeper mysteries unfold, and the beginning of a story where history, secrecy, and unexplained phenomena collide. Montauk Air Force Station was supposed to be dead. Official records confirm it. Gates locked, radar silenced, personnel reassigned. Yet, inexplicable lights flickered in the dome. Humming machines were heard without power, and unmarked vehicles moved through the compound under cover of darkness. How can a facility be simultaneously decommissioned and operational? That question would haunt locals, military analysts, and investigators alike, and it's only the beginning. The Cold War context. In the early 1980s, the United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a technological and psychological arms race. Fear of stealth bombers, nuclear first strikes, and surprise attacks drove massive investments in radar networks. Among these, the semi-automatic ground environment SAGE system was the backbone of early warning. Montauk was strategically placed on Long Island's far eastern tip with clear line of sight over the Atlantic. It could monitor approaching aircraft long before they reached U.S. soil. Satellites tracked movement from space, but Montauk's radar added a real-time terrestrial layer. It was not just a station. It was a sentinel. Yet the paradox remains. For a facility so critical, why does almost no operational record exist outside highly classified files? And why did the anomalies begin almost immediately after the supposed shutdown? The official purpose of Montauk's official role was straightforward: detect incoming Soviet threats. Its AN/FPS-35 radar, one of the most powerful of its era, could track aircraft at extreme distances. The station was heavily guarded and strictly restricted, a testament to its importance. Only a select few had access to sensitive areas, while the general staff operated under rigid protocols. Visual records show the radar dome looming over grey concrete buildings surrounded by fencing and barbed wire. Security patrols, warning signs, and isolation reinforced the message. Unauthorized access could be deadly. Yet even this strict control could not prevent the mysteries that would emerge after the shutdown, or what many believe was a shutdown in name only. The shutdown, or was it? Officially, Montauk was decommissioned between 1981 and 1984. Staff were reassigned, equipment dismantled, and gates locked. Power was supposedly disconnected. Maps removed the facility from operational listings. But locals reported something different. A low, continuous hum from the radar dome, flickering lights late at night, unmarked vehicles entering and leaving under the cover of darkness, an electromagnetic interference that disrupted radios miles away. These reports aren't confirmed, a retired engineer noted, but they also were never officially denied. The silence from authorities only deepened suspicion. How could a site declared dead still produce such activity? The rumors and documents. Researchers and whistleblowers have offered three possible explanations. A. Experimental microwave transmit testing. Some suggest Montauk continued limited radar tests after decommissioning. High-frequency transmissions could explain intermittent signals. B. Classified defense continuation, early HARP research. Others believe electromagnetic experiments persisted under the radar. VLF communication tests and ionospheric manipulation may have been in progress, partially documented elsewhere. C. Psychological operations and disinformation. Some accounts claim misinformation was deliberately encouraged to bury truth. Absurd stories of government experiments may have been noise, designed to obscure reality. No single explanation fits all anomalies. Which one is true? That remains a question. Montauk may have been decommissioned on paper, but the activity reported afterwards suggests otherwise. Lights, humming, interference, all indicators of life where there should have been none. And yet, the redacted FOIA documents, the missing logs, and the partially functional equipment hint that something far deeper was taking place beneath the surface of the public record. Next, we will explore what truly doesn't add up, the discrepancies, the locked-off buildings, and the secrets that remain hidden even today. Montauk Air Force Station was supposed to be a relic, a silent monument to Cold War vigilance. Yet reports of humming machinery, glowing lights, and unexplained vehicle activity painted a different story. How could a facility declared decommissioned still operate or appear to? Even more puzzling, the documents, the logs, and the equipment left behind were not fully accounted for. What the government had publicly abandoned, some evidence suggests, was never truly gone. Even decades later, investigators find Montauk strangely resistant to scrutiny. Certain buildings remain locked, with fences and security systems intact long after personnel officially left. Satellite imagery shows structures not fully represented in public diagrams, hidden wings, possibly underground. Equipment that was reportedly dismantled or scrapped has been observed intact years later. Technical manuals, blueprints, and operational logs are missing or heavily redacted. FOIA requests have revealed partial files, but large sections remain blacked out, leaving key questions unanswered. When harmless abandoned military sites are investigated, nothing is redacted. Montauk is different. Even eyewitness accounts contain inconsistencies that cannot easily be dismissed. Local residents recall strange lights flickering in the dome at times when no staff should have been present. Some recall electrical hums so powerful they caused radios and household devices to behave erratically. Unmarked vehicles entered the site under the cover of darkness, leaving no trace in official logs. The pattern suggests more than mere coincidence. There is a gap between official history and what actually occurred, a space where ordinary explanations fail and speculation begins. Montauk is not an isolated anomaly. It is part of a lineage of Cold War-era defense sites whose secrets continue to influence modern military technology. Thule Air Base, Greenland, another Arctic sentinel still largely restricted. Cheyenne Mountain Complex, Colorado, the mountain fortress that monitors global threats. Alaska Radar Grid, a network of tunnels and bunkers still humming quietly under frozen landscapes. Montauk represents a shift in warfare strategy, the evolution from visible installations to invisible defensive operations. The lessons learned there helped shape modern radar, communications, and electromagnetic research programs. But perhaps the most striking point, Montauk demonstrates how easily official records can conceal reality. A base may appear abandoned on paper, yet the activities inside, or immediately adjacent, may tell a completely different story. What was really happening behind the radar dome? Were the lights and hums signs of continued testing, early experiments in electromagnetic technology, or something even stranger? Even today, sections of the site remain off-limits, unexplored and unaccounted for. Every FOIA request uncovers more blanks than answers. Every eyewitness recollection raises more questions than it resolves. Montauk is both abandoned and active, visible and hidden, known and unknown, and the deeper you dig, the more the contradictions multiply. Officially, Montauk is just another abandoned Cold War relic. Unofficially, too many things remain unanswered. The lights, the hum, the unmarked vehicles, they are clues to a story the public record cannot fully explain. And like many Cold War sites, the closer you look, the stranger the story becomes. Montauk Air Force Station was both a relic and an enigma, decommissioned, yet seemingly alive, abandoned, yet still humming with unexplained energy. For decades, the official record has remained silent or contradictory. Why does this site continue to defy understanding even now? And what lessons might its hidden operations hold for modern military strategy? Though Montauk's radar is long dismantled, its influence echoes in modern defense systems. Research into electromagnetic pulses, VLF communications, and advanced radar guidance all trace part of their lineage to experiments conducted at facilities like Montauk. ARP, High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. Some speculate that early electromagnetic studies at Montauk contributed indirectly to HARP's technology. VLF communications. Techniques to send signals to submerged submarines were refined through early Cold War testing at stations like Montauk. Radar automation and remote operations. Lessons learned influenced how modern radar stations operate remotely, often with minimal human intervention. The base that officially ceased to exist helped lay foundations for some of the most advanced military technologies of the late 20th century. The unsolved mysteries. Even decades later, Montauk remains shrouded in partial secrecy. Researchers continue to identify gaps and contradictions in the historical record. Some sections of the site remain fenced off and inaccessible to the public. Equipment thought scrapped was later discovered intact or partially operational. FOIA requests reveal redacted sections and missing logs from the critical shutdown years. Eyewitness accounts report unexplained lights, low-frequency hums, and unmarked vehicles, sometimes even years after the supposed decommissioning. When harmless abandoned military sites are investigated, nothing is redacted, notes one historian. Montauk is different. The deeper investigators look, the more these contradictions multiply. It is as if the base has a life of its own, existing both inside and outside the public record. Some researchers speculate that Montauk may have hosted early experiments in electromagnetic warfare, projects the public record cannot confirm. Others suggest psychological operations, or the testing of disinformation techniques, may have obscured its true purpose. Was the base ever truly inactive, or did its systems continue quietly, monitored by those who never appeared on logs? The lack of concrete answers leaves Montauk suspended between fact and conjecture, a paradox the Cold War left behind. Montauk Air Force Station is more than a relic of the past. It is a testament to the hidden complexity of military infrastructure and secrecy. Its story reminds us that history is not always what is written in official records. Sometimes the most fascinating chapters are the ones deliberately left blank. As we consider Montauk's role, a broader lesson emerges. Military history is not only shaped by weapons and tactics, but by secrecy, shadows, and controlled narratives. Sites like Montauk show that the Cold War was fought not just in the skies or on the seas, but in silence, behind locked gates, and in rooms few were meant to enter. Officially, Montauk is just another Cold War installation. Unofficially, it is a puzzle. Its anomalies, its redacted documents, and its strange activity still waiting for answers. If you want more investigations into Cold War sites the world forgot, hidden bases, and military operations the public record barely touches, subscribe. The next story may be buried closer than you think, and like Montauk, it might never fully reveal its secrets.